We all know how the Belgian Grand Prix went. Max Verstappen climbed up from 14th to first spot and then stayed there. Ferrari, well, they did what they do best with a terrible tire strategy, but now there's evidence that Max Verstappen may have just sabotaged Charles Leclerc's race. Is it true? Let's find out. First up, what happened at the Belgian Grand Prix? We've already mentioned Max Verstappen was absolutely unstoppable last Sunday. It seemed like he was fighting an all-out war, and he ended up winning. None of us expected him to do that well. He started off at 14th for Pete's sake. How many other drivers starting with below 10 end up with a P1? Rarely anyone ever. Ferrari's Leclerc was a one spot behind him in 15th. Now, he did have a good race. The racer would have finished 5th, 10 places above where he started if he wasn't for the Italian team's absolute mess of a strategy. Could they not see Alonso coming? If you're confused by this question, don't worry, we'll clear it out for you later in the video. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz started in pole position, which was mighty impressive. He was all set to win the race, but then he stumbled down to 3rd with Red Bull's Perez coming in 2nd, giving the team an extremely satisfying 1 and 2. Everyone in the world of F1 was furious with Ferrari, not their drivers, not their engineers, but their strategists, and of course team principal Mattia Binotto putting their drivers on hard, then not being able to predict when Alonso will come. How could they even mess it up like this? This is now folks vying for a championship play. However, now there's some pretty solid evidence that Leclerc's race was sabotaged because of Verstappen's car, not because of Ferrari's strategy. Whatever happened there? Well, let's dive right in. Next up, what really happened at the Belgian Grand Prix? Before we get into what really happened, let's put out a disclaimer. There's no way of knowing if the 24-year-old Ferrari driver would have won the GP if it wasn't for this incident. After all, Ferrari loves collapsing in on itself. But yes, let's talk about sabotage. Footage from Leclerc's camera has revealed that reigning Formula 1 champion Max Verstappen may have inadvertently spoiled Charles's race at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. The Monegasque racer was forced to make an unscheduled, unplanned pit stop, and that too just on the 3rd lap. This happened because on the radio, the Ferrari driver complained about smoke emerging from his brakes, right front brake duct to be specific. At first, they just changed the tires, but later, Ferrari finally found the culprit, the tiny piece of the visor that may have cost them this race. Ferrari found a visor tear-off strip, and where did they find it? Lodged in the car's brake duct. Now that doesn't sound too bad, does it? Well, it is. It's really bad, because that blocked the airflow to the duct, which caused it to overheat, hence the smoke. When Ferrari later watched video replays to unearth where its obstructing piece even came from, they found it came from none other than race winner Max Verstappen's car. Was it purposeful? Of course not, but it did ruin the race for Leclerc. Moving on, how did it happen? So here's what happened. On the opening lap, the Red Bull driver was forced to take evasive action. This happened after the 7-time world champion Hamilton collided with another F1 veteran, Fernando Alonso. This happened near Les Combes. As a result, Verstappen's helmet was covered in dust. This happened because of the debris the crash created, and also because of the gravel came up after Hamilton's crash, landing on his side of the track. The Dutch driver then peeled off one of the transport strips on his helmet visor during the high-speed run from Paul Frere to Blanchimont. He did this to improve his visibility. After he peeled it off, he just threw it away, and unfortunately he threw it directly in the path of Charles Ferrari. Max, being Max, didn't really take full responsibility for his actions. After the race, he explained that he pulled the tear off because of the accident in the previous sector. He couldn't really see anything after that. However, one thing he did say that could have been said more nicely. He stated that, quote, "But there was a lot of stuff. Honestly, people, they were all pulling stuff out, and it's just super unlucky, to be honest. That's all that happens." Maybe, just maybe, if he had discarded the piece in a better way, this wouldn't have happened. But we do understand when you're racing, it's just not that easy to consider, and be careful. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? But what were the consequences for Ferrari? Let's look at how this affected Ferrari. Well, there's the obvious. The pit stop cost Leclerc all the positions he gained, but there's a lot more to it. This might have been the reason he went from 5th to 6th. Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto said that the overheating of the car caused a sensor to fail. Consequently, they couldn't measure his speed. How did this mess things up for them? Well, they made an extra pit stop with only 3 laps remaining to get that bonus point for the fastest lap. They put him on soft so he could have the quickest lap out of all the racers and earn that point. Oh boy, did that gamble backfire. The 24-year-old was given a 5-second penalty because he was speeding in the pits after changing into fresh tires. How fast was he going? Well, just 1 km/h over the speed limit. That's it. But that caused him to get the penalty. And because of the penalty, although he finished the race ahead of Fernando Alonso, he came in 6th place and lost the points he already had. Now, Binotto swears that this happened because of what Max tore off. He stands by the fact that Ferrari didn't speed, its sensors just got all messed up because of the overheating. We'll never truly know if this was Ferrari's fault or Max's, but the truth is, they played a gamble and they lost. It's F1, this happens. They should be more focused on the road ahead the rest of the season and the next season, because quite frankly, this championship has slipped away from their hands. Other news, a lot is happening in the world of F1 right now. There's the Piastri-Ricciardo situation, a race just ended, and a new race is just about to start. Sometimes it can be kinda hard to keep up, and that's exactly why we'll be taking a couple of minutes to quickly discuss some of the things happening. Firstly, did Alpine break Piastri's trust? Y'all know what happened. Vettel, Alonso, Piastri, Alpine, McLaren, Ricciardo. 6 words is all we need to explain to you guys what's going on. However, there are some more juicy details to the story than we first knew. Apparently, there was a breakdown in trust between the two parties. Piastri claims that there was a lack of clarity around his future at Alpine, which is exactly why he was triggered to leave the team for a more stable. Wait, really? And hey, Oscar's not alone. Fernando Alonso, who joined Aston Martin for 2023, also stated that his decision was motivated by the lack of trust from the team. So the truth is, Alpine is definitely the problem, not their drivers who keep leaving. The 21-year-old stated that he actually really wanted to race for Alpine, but he wanted a multi-year contract and they'd only offer a 1-year contract. What's more, the Mercedes F1 factory's going solar. Soaring energy prices aren't only a problem for consumers, it's also a huge problem for the businesses. Mercedes is now planning to build a solar farm to power their F1 factory in the UK. Why are they doing that? Well, because they were just handed a whopping £6 million energy bill. How crazy is that? Now, obviously, they don't really have a lot of options to cut back on their use of electricity, because the team can't really sacrifice all the work they do. So Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has claimed that they had to think outside the box to come up with a better solution. And this won't just benefit Mercedes, it'll set a precedent for other teams and, more importantly, other businesses to follow. And add that to the 2026 sustainability goals for the sport, we're super excited to see example F1 will set for the rest of us to follow. Finishing up, let's talk about the qualifying results. Qualifying is at times more important than the race, because if you snatch the pole, then chances are you'll end up winning the race. So let's discuss the qualifying times for the Dutch Grand Prix. As expected, in pole position, we have Max Verstappen. In numbers 2 and 3, we have both the Ferraris, with Leclerc on 2nd and Sainz on 3rd. Let's hope they don't mess it up like they usually do. In number 4, we have Lewis Hamilton from Mercedes. Will this finally be the race where he ends his winless season? Red Bull's Perez is on 5th, Mercedes Russell took 6th, and McLaren Norris took 7th. In a surprising twist, Haas's Mick Schumacher takes 8th. After all, he's a Schumacher. Well, that's it for this video, guys. So whose fault was it? Max's or Ferrari's? Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.